What's up, you beauties? Welcome to the High and Wide Hockey YouTube channel. I'm Jim Iacovone. I'm joined by goalie connoisseur Jason Myrtetus of the Flyers Broadcast Network to discuss the early struggles of goaltender Ivan Fedotov. Jace, thanks for taking the time. Let's get right into it.
Cool.
All right, so we talked about a week or so ago about the Flyers goalie pipeline, and we talked Fedotov and how he himself, at least for me, was a massive question mark heading into the season. And through two games, uh, I think things have been somewhat alarmingly bad. So I figure, let's ask you, let's get you on here. And have you seen anything from him that would maybe quell some of the worries of Flyers fans, or are things really just that bad right now?
Well, I don't think I can say anything that'll quell anybody's concerns. He's given up 5 goals in each of the 2 games that he's played.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this will quell anybody's concern, but he's only appeared now in, 5 NHL games. He's started 3. And it's not one of those things where you can just say, hey, you're in the NHL now. It's different than the KHL. Play it like this, and you do it. It just doesn't work that way. The awareness when you're in the game is what you learn by. Like I talk about looking over screens quite a bit when it comes to Fedotov and the peril of that. And even though he's a big guy and can obviously look over everything, he's been looking over stuff his entire life. Why that's an issue, but it's not as simple as just saying, hey, look around the screen, don't look over it. You have to go through it. He hasn't dealt with traffic in the way that he's dealing with traffic now because he hasn't seen it. And it's not as simple as just saying, hey, you need to look around it. You're fighting every instinct you ever had when you play the position because that's the way he's done it in the past and gotten away with it and and not only that, but he's been successful in the past in the KHL and internationally as well, that it's not just something you say, hey, fix this. And, hey, if you don't want your nails to look like shit, stop biting them. It's not like that. So there's a lot of instinctual things and habits he's got to break that, unfortunately, to break them, the consequence of getting scored on is there, and it ends up on the scoreboard. So, and looking at it on tape and going through it with his goalie coach, and the goalie coach saying, hey, you could have looked around it here, or you could have, had a different depth here, the play read, this guy was a threat. Did you, in that moment, if you take yourself back, did you feel that threat? Why did you feel maybe it wasn't that big of it? All of those things, that's part of it. But it just takes reps, It's like going on, like when you first started your podcast. First time you went on, you probably sounded awful.
Yeah.
It's reps. It takes
Nobody
a while.
Go back and listen to those, by the way.
Yeah, it takes a while to get comfortable. And it's, when Kevin Woodley came on Flyers Daily after he came over last year from In Goal Magazine, Woody said it's almost like playing a different sport, playing goalie in the KHL versus the NHL. I mean, that's a bit dramatic, but there's some truth to the transition that has to take place. It's not easy.
So did he mention some of those things? Like what kind of adjustments would he have to be making? Because what I found last night on some of those goals where, we talked about some of the people out there who are, when they see the goalie position, they're like, oh, just stop the damn puck. And
See puck, stop puck.
last night I turned into one of those people, It was like, holy shit, man. Like, it's coming directly at you. Just get in the way of it. So what are some of the differences that you guys talked about from the KHL and the NHL, maybe to help somebody like me have more understanding and more patience, while you're watching this guy playing games that count for the Flyers?
Well, I mean, full disclosure, obviously, I didn't play in the NHL, so I don't know what it feels like.
Yeah.
But from watching and, talking with Kevin Woodley about it when he came over, I mean, some of the key differences are, first of all, it's the NHL. It's the most unforgiving hockey league in the world, on the planet. They're the best players in the world. Those guys know how to exploit you. Like, when you talk about, like, guys shooting the puck, like, there's a ton of guys in the AHL that can shoot the puck just as hard, just as precise, but they don't have the awareness to be in the right place at the right time or to disguise their release, those kind of things. So it's not about, like, shot power, not necessarily even shot accuracy. It's in the NHL, they will attack you from anywhere. In the KHL, it's a really big perimeter game. In the NHL, they'll throw pucks at your feet on sharp angles. Like you look at that Michkov power play goal, the second one he scored in that game. That was a dead angle. He was below the dot and just above the bottom of the circle. It's a sharp angle shot. Guys can shoot it from there. Lawton last night scores his second goal.
That was pretty.
You know, almost along the goal line because Grubauer's cheating off a little bit and left a little bit of that spot upstairs. I mean, he's a window about that big, and he finds a way to get a puck this big through that, through the clown's mouth.
Yeah.
That's why it's so unforgiving, and it's in talking to guys that played in the league, it can be humbling. When you've played in other leagues and done really well, and then all of a sudden you're in the NHL and you're like, whoa, this is different. And then the obvious thing is the traffic. No other league disrupts your vision, your ability to move pucks, track the release off the stick, read plays better than the NHL, because they not only get to the right spot to do those things and create traffic, but they get there with a purpose. You see guys in the NHL, they don't go to screen a goalie and just stand in front of them. They're moving to try and get the goalie to move side to side to open up part of the net. And those are the differences. It's nuance, but it's a big difference and something that he's never seen before and never felt before. Like feeling it is like the whole different thing. Like he's seen it on TV, right? I'm sure he was talked to about it and all that stuff as he's developing, but feeling it's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, it's and look, I know that I'm not one to talk. I'm just a watcher of things. I've never played even close to this level. I don't know what he's going through, what he's experiencing, what he's seeing. But when you watch this guy, you don't feel great, unless you're playing for the Kraken, the Flames. When you see Ivan Fedotov, this is what I'm a little bit worried about. When you see him in between the pipes, you're on the side of just get pucks to goal. They might go in. Just fire shots. And from what I saw last night with the Kraken, once they got that first goal, they were sending everything to the net. Yep. And the whole second period, which it was more than just the goalie, but Flyers got dominated. Kraken were getting pucks to goal, and it was just rapid fire after that.
Yeah, the NHL's a prove it otherwise league.
Yeah.
We're going to just keep throwing it at you until you prove that that's not a good way for us to attack and that we're not going to have success, because you're going to make all the saves you're supposed to make and maybe a couple that you're not supposed to make. Like that's the position for me in a nutshell. That's what the job is, right? It's to make all the saves. Sometimes one that you're supposed to save, you're not going to make it. That's just going to happen. For whatever reason, you read the play wrong, you just butcher it. It happens. It happened to Martin Brodeur, it happened to Patrick Roy, it's happened to every goaltender along the way. But when the opposition sees blood in the water, everybody wants to eat. You know what I mean? They all want to get in on the action. So it's, hey, guys, and they're saying it on the bench, just get pucks in on him. He's fighting it. And you could see, too, after the second goal that he gave up, the body language. I mean, you can see when a goalie's struggling, it's written all over his shoulders and his chest and how he's just moving around when the play's not even going on. Yeah. You can see confidence in that position, and you can see a lack of it. And Seattle saw that, and they were just throwing everything at him. Like the rebound goal that is given up on that shot coming in from Seattle's looking at the net, the right side. He goes down in the butterfly. He's in a good position. He's reading the play right, not looking over anything. Eyes on the puck all the way into his body. And it actually hits him a little bit more on the left side of his body, like kind of like toward the heel of his glove. And somehow the rebound ends up squirting to the right.
Yeah.
And you go, and then he goes into desperation in the sprawl, and he can't get there to keep it out of the net. And that's one where you go, okay, that's a guy just fighting. Like you got to just absorb that into your body. You got to become a Hoover vacuum there, and just absorb everything. Just comes in, and that puck's just eaten. But when you're fighting it, you don't eat it, and maybe you butcher it, and you leave a juicy rebound right at the top of the crease for another guy, and that's a big part of it. And then the other thing too, Jim, is this. I talked about this on Flyers Daily today, and the goalie feels this too, and it's a lot of pressure that comes with the position. But when the goalie's struggling, it bleeds its way forward in a huge way to the team.
Yeah,
a team playing in front of a bad goalie tries to do too much and maybe is a little safe at times too. because they know if they make a mistake, they're probably pulling it out of the back of their net.
Mm-hmm.
And conversely, a team that knows they got a guy back there that's going to erase mistakes, they'll take risk, and they'll be unpredictable. And like you see it with the Rangers, I mean, you got Shesterkin back there. They give up a ton of high-danger chances, and they take a lot of risk, which is why they're so good offensively, because they got that guy back there to bail them out. And we saw it last year, in the beginning of the year. Flyers with this new transition offense incurred a lot of risk. They gave up a lot of odd-man rushes. But Hart and Ersson at that time were just erasing everything, so they stuck with it. And then they started to run into problems when the goaltending fell off. Carter left, and Sam was getting overused, and they weren't able to keep the puck out of their net in those situations. Then all of a sudden they became a team that really struggled to score because they weren't in transition a lot, and they weren't generating good forecheck, and they were defending too much. So it all bleeds forward too.
You said it, man. You used the perfect terminology there. It's blood in the water, and if you're a team, coming into a game, or you see the goalie let in a goal or two like Fedotov did the other night, and all of a sudden everybody wants to get in on the action too, right? Like everybody wants to try to get a goal there because
let me
get one. Right, exactly.
Dude, Montour, you got one from the point, man. Let me get in there and get one.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And if
fourth line plugs are going in there to get a goal now.
Exactly. So and it makes a team a little tougher to play against when everyone thinks they can get one. They all want to get one. So let's get to some clips here. I have clips from the Calgary game. You could tell me if whether he could have done anything on these or not. I excluded the one I think went off of Huberdeau's shoulder, because that was kind of a fluky one.
Yeah.
But
some people were like hitting me up on Twitter saying he's got to be in a better position. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he had no idea where the puck was. Right.
We can assess blame when it's due. It's not due when it deflects off a guy's shoulder who lunges into it.
Right. We want to try to be fair a little bit. So I wasn't able to slow these down, so they're kind of in real time. So if you need me to replay it, we'll go. So here's goal number 1. I think this comes in from the point here. And that's kind of what we saw a couple times the other night. So I'll play it again because I'm not sure he had a direct screen. It looks like Kadri's in front there. But unless he was screened from the point from Lotz.
No, I had looked at this one too. Okay, so the pass comes across. Watch the one. So he loses the puck when it's coming across for the one-time pass, and then he doesn't pick it up well off the stick. You're going to lose it at time to time because there's so much traffic. So like the puck comes across there, he loses the pass, but then he's got a free a sight line on the puck. He's just too deep in his net.
Yeah,
I think he's just wait. If you can play it one more time, because I just want to see what's around him on the side of the net. Kadri's in front. He steps to the left. There is a threat on the left side, which will make a goalie back up on a sharp angle, but you can see that the one-time shot's coming, so he shouldn't be that deep. Look how deep he is. I mean, that's Lundqvist deep. His butt's on the goal line.
Yeah.
His heels are about 6 inches off the goal line. I know he's big, but he needs to be out a little bit more. This is a power play goal, too. 5-on-3, actually.
And this, in my opinion,
or 4-on-3, I should say.
It's tougher than the goals that we saw last night because I think the goals last night, I mean, that's a one-time goal. So, I could almost be, give him a break there, because maybe he's not expecting the shot and he's getting into position.
Nah, I'm not giving a break on that because it's a clear-sighted shot from a good distance. He's just too deep. He's giving up too much. Here's the best way. I did this on Flyers there. Here's the best way to explain it. Make us big again on the screen.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So my surroundings are the goal. I'm the goalie right now. I'm in the middle of the net. If I'm back on my goal line, so the net's behind me, you see a lot more goal right now, don't you?
Yeah.
If I come forward, you see a lot less as I get closer. It's just, my hand gets bigger as it gets closer. So does the body. When you're too deep, you're showing a ton in that. And he's just too deep on that. He's got to find that. Not get out far. He doesn't need to have his feet on the edge of the crease. But he's got to find what would be called a conservative depth, which is kind of halfway between the goal line and the top of the crease. He does that puck's likely just going to hit him, or it's just a small movement. It's not a full wave at it. Yeah. When you're that deep, you have more to cover because you're showing more of the net.
It makes total sense. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. Let me take the sound off. So, all right, so this one comes from behind the net. Kadri's there for one time. I would cut him some slack there, but is there anything he could have done differently?
Let me see. Okay, can you pause it there? Right there.
Yeah, let me go back. So I know this is
Right
like the
there,
most
yeah.
dangerous spot.
Okay, so a couple of things here. He's obviously an RVH, which stands for reverse vertical horizontal, which is the right pad is on the ice on the post, and looking behind the net for a goalie, like the way we like coach that or talk about that, there's windows. You have windows in how you look. So he's on his right post. The 4 windows are looking behind the net to his right there on that short side, looking with his right leg still in that right post out the back of the middle of the net, and then on the other side, the same 2 things. He's looking, obviously, where the player behind the net's going. Now, I don't know if he doesn't pick up that the player behind the net's a right-hand shot and he's on his right post. If that's a left-hand shot, I think looking that way to see what he's doing is the right thing. But with that player being a right-hand shot, it's a little bit more difficult for them to turn and find who's going to receive this puck. This is why low to high plays are hell to defend and to goaltend against, because he doesn't know. Is that Kadri that scores the goal? He doesn't know where Kadri's going to make himself an option. And look at the 3 Flyer players. Johnson, I'm not sure who the other D is, and then it looks like that might be out high, Scott Lawton, I believe. They're all looking down below the goal line. Look at all the players behind them that they don't account for. So, huge advantage for the opposition. It's a 2-man advantage. In all fairness here, too, you're playing small areas in a tight, obviously they're playing a triangle, because you can see by the way they're trying to seal him off at the back of the net. But, yeah, I mean, this is it's a 5-on-3 goal.
Yeah.
Low to high play. Yeah, he could have maybe looked around the other side and read it faster. If you play it again, does he look to the right to try and... There, he looks to the right. Too late, though. It's hurt. Now he's dead. He's still down in RVH, which I expect him to be. He's trying to get up and grab his edges, but he just gets beat. Yeah,
that's a tough one.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
All right, so I have 2 more. I'll cut him some, like, that's a 5-on-3. The play comes from behind the goal. I try to be fair with assessments, and as somebody who doesn't know what they're watching from the goaltender position, it's like, all right, well, 5-on-3, play comes from behind goal. Kadri is basically a wide open shot, and
you know how to defend the 5-on-3?
Do I?
Don't get yourself in a position to be down 2 guys.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. All right, let me see. Let me make sure the sound's off here. This is the 3rd one I got up. This looks like, okay, this one bothered me a little bit. I know it was a 2-on-1.
This isn't on him.
I know it wasn't on him, but
not at all.
I haven't seen. He just looked like a player.
Well, he looked. He got made to look bad. Okay,
right.
Stop. Can you stop it?
Yeah, I can do that.
Go back a little bit. Okay, so right here, stop. Okay, I think it's Cam York defending, if I recall.
Okay.
Cam York is showing him right now. He's reading his player too. You got the shot. I will eliminate the pass. So, and the reason I can tell that is look how far out he is.
Yeah.
He plays a pretty conservative depth because he's a big guy. He plays back far, but look how far he's out there. His feet are on the edge of the crease. So he's going, all right. Yeah, Fedotov is reading. I got the shot.
Yeah.
So I have to commit to the shot. And if I have the shot, I got to take more ice. I got to make myself bigger and allow myself to flow back with it should he decide he wants to come in and try and deke me. So I want to have a little backward movement with that. So, and York is showing that right there as well. He's putting himself in a position to take away the pass. Mm-hmm. Now, if you just kind of creep it forward like a half a second, okay, now York's kind of in between. Now he's going, okay, am I mitigating the guy driving far post? Am I still giving him shot? Fedotov's still locked in on shot. He's committed at this point. There's no changing that. But here's the problem. Click it forward a little bit further. Okay. Fedotov is committed on shot, but York's not in a position to break up the pass.
Yep.
So roll it. Now he's dead.
Yeah,
he's dead at that point. When the pass gets through and completed, there's no way he's going to get there. He's taking too much ice because he was committed to taking the shot, which he should have been. Yeah, that one's definitely not on him. This you can't, as the D, you can't waffle here.
Nah, you got to block that pass.
Yeah, you got to take away the higher percentage scoring chance. Oddly enough, is the cross ice pass for the one timer. It's not just the taking the 1v1 goalie versus the shooter. Goalie versus the shooter is what you want, but you got to take away the pass.
Yep, no doubt. All right, so far 2 for 3, not his fault. Let's see. I got one more here. No, Yeah, I got one more. Here we go.
Continues for Jonathan.
All right, we got the tail end of that. So this is 5-on-5. That looks like another one where that's Huberto, the last one.
Yeah, it was Huberto's second. All right, so pause it there. All right, totally fine with this. He makes the initial save, rebounds, laying there on the side of the net. It was one that you're not going to just suck into your body and corral. Then there's a scramble on the side there. I'm not sure who that Flyers D is.
Maybe it looks like Drysdale, maybe.
Yep. So he got the paddle down too, which is good because you want to try and have that ability to swat that pass back if it comes across into your angle. And then just click it together 1 little second. He's got the left pad down. He's going towards it. I'm not sure where this beats him. Probably above the pad.
I mean,
maybe right inside the left post.
I'll defend him a little bit. Like, I'm not sure what. Like, Eric Johnson's got to be.
Look here too. Like before that shot even comes in. If you go back.
Yeah.
So he's up here. Okay, now he's looking around the screen to the short side. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
That's why he made the initial save. Yeah, this is one that I wouldn't be critical of him on him either. Again, who's the other D there at Zamula? Zamula's got to have that guy tied up.
Was it? So
yeah, he's off him. Why? I mean, why you off him there? Like if you're going to be there, fucking mitigate him, right? Watch. So Zamula's in a battle, but now he's too far off.
Yeah.
Because Huberto uses his strength, pushes him off him, gives himself a little bit of space.
That's exactly what he did too.
Yep. Yeah. That's a. And Zamula can't get the stick back in there either. So yeah, that one's definitely not on him.
All right, so
I mean, can you get a save on that? Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's one that when you make it, you go, okay, he saved one he wasn't supposed to. That he saved a goal above expected. That was an expected goal. If he made a save, it would have been a save above expected. It wasn't.
All right, so for somebody like me, and just going based off Twitter, there's a lot of people who are maybe starting to pile on a little bit after 2 games. What we just saw from the Calgary game is, although he allowed 5, 4 of the 5 goals scored against were not directly, something he caused.
It wasn't egregious.
Not egregious. It was the team needed to play better around him kind of thing. And I think you're coming out with the stick to hockey where you're going to kind of go over some of the Seattle goals.
Yeah.
So that'll be a little bit more helpful as well, because I think maybe at least at first glance without watching back, it seemed to be more of a rougher game for Fedotov there. But 10 goals in 5 periods doesn't look great, but maybe half of those, the Flyers could have played a little bit better in front of them. So
this time of year, this, Jim.
Yeah,
structure's not great in the NHL. That's why goals are always up. Yeah. Goals are always up in the beginning of the year. It was like, oh, look at that, the scoring problem is solved. They're scoring 10, 11 goals a game combined. Eventually, you get back to 3-1 games and 4-2s and those kind of things because coaches get their say. And they start clamping down other teams, and they start to learn what other teams' tendencies are and how they do a couple things. A, exit the zone. So they want to kind of, find a way to slow them down on their zone exit or, keep the forecheck on and get another second chance possession opportunity. 2, what they're doing in the neutral zone. Sometimes some teams go with certain lines love to go through the neutral zone up the right side of the ice, say. So you figure those things out and you learn how to defend them through strategy. And then obviously in the D zone as well, they get their structure in order. And it takes time into a hockey season for that to happen. And eventually it'll happen in this season. You just hope it happens for your team pretty quickly. And when it's not happening, that you can outscore the opposition. I mean, Flyers got back in that game last night to make it 5-4. I thought that was important, going in down 3 goals after a really deflating 3 minutes where they go down 5-2. Make the goalie change, and they could have, in the 4th game of a road trip, just packed it in and said, you know what, this one's over. Let's pack it in. We'll go back home and get ready for the home opener. But they didn't. They pushed. Get the York goal, get the Drysdale goal, and then an egregious mistake by Jamie Drysdale. Initially, I thought it was maybe a bad read by Cam York, not reading that play properly. But as you'll see in the thing I'm going to do here in a couple minutes is York's already well in the zone. Drysdale does a pinch where he's got to come a football field to get there, really low percentage pinch, and it sends Bjorkstrand in on the breakaway, which makes it 6-4. And that's just an egregious mistake by Drysdale. Situational high. You got all the momentum, 5 minutes left, and you're only down a goal.
Right.
And that's just a bad mistake.
Yeah, that was the backbreaker last night. It was unfortunate. Kind of the theme of the last two games. Flyers came out, looked decent. Second period got hammered. Third period kind of playing catch up, and they were, even though they led for the majority of the third period against Edmonton, they were, lucky to get that point. So hopefully they can get that corrected. Maybe a little bit of home cooking will do them good.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's the Vancouver game. It's a tough game because you played them and you beat them a week ago today, and this travel coming out from that trip. So you go all the way out to BC, the furthest flight they can take. It's basically like for them flying to Neptune. Then you come back east a tiny bit. Not that those flights are long from BC to Calgary and Calgary to Edmonton's a 30-minute flight. It's quick, but you change your time zone. And then you go back out west again, change another time zone, and you're on West Coast time again to go to Seattle. And then they stayed last night, and they probably just getting back now, flew today. So there's no on ice today or anything. Your day's gone, just not really relaxing on a flight. I know they're flying charter. And then tomorrow, they have a game. There should be 2 days between your last game on that trip. They should have had off today and tomorrow, and then the game the next day.
Yeah.
But you can't do anything about that.
No.
And they got to find a way. I mean, the game after a long road trip back home on short turnaround like this is a bettor's dream. They look at it and they go, okay, this is one where, you get back home, you got to check the mail, you got to feed the dog, check in with the wife, girlfriend, whatever, all that stuff. And it's a tough spot tomorrow. I think tomorrow's a tough spot.
Yeah.
What they do tomorrow will be very interesting. I don't know how to read the game going into tomorrow. I know Airson will get the start, but they have 2 back-to-backs coming up this week too. Washington Tuesday, Wednesday, and then back-to-back over the weekend with Minnesota and Montreal. A little bit different of a back-to-back because Saturday's at 1 o'clock and Sunday's at 7, so you could go Airson conceivably on that back-to-back, but we'll see. You got to play your backup goalie, or else you're going to kill the starter. Put it this way, Igor Shesterkin averages over his last 3 seasons, we know how good he's been, 55 games a year. Got to play your backup.
You do. And
and the team's got to have confidence that dude can go in there and give you a quality start.
100%. We were talking earlier in our group chat, I wonder, and we hope it's not the case, but I can't believe I'm even thinking, and I know we're only 4 games in, we've only seen 2 games of Fedotov this season. Could the backup goalie position undermine this entire season? I know it's dramatic, but we saw it at the end of last year. It's all in our head,
It's happened 1,000 times where, you got to have a guy that you can depend on as your starter for sure, but you also got to have a guy that you can depend on to come in and give you quality starts, and usually in difficult circumstances. Like the backup goalie goes a lot on a back-to-back. The team in front of him played the night before. He didn't. So you're probably going to see a little more high danger, especially if the team you're playing is not on a back-to-back and you are. So it's being the backup goalie, everybody, it's great. You all play 28 games and sit there on the bench, get paid a good amount of money. It's a hard job, man. It's hard to not play a lot and stay sharp because the practices are not designed to emulate games during the season. And it's a really difficult position to be in. So it's not one that a lot of guys can do. Like Jonathan Quick is a really good backup now for Shesterkin with the Rangers. I would have never thought he could go into that role based on the way he was as a goalie, as a starter, like the way he competed and everything. But he was able to do it. Like Steve Mason could have stuck around for 4 or 5 more years in the NHL, made $2-3 million a year being a backup. He couldn't wrap his head around it and couldn't do it. So, yeah, some guys can, some guys can't.
It is a really...
Brian Elliott could do it until he was 80.
Yeah, he sure could. If his body would have let him, man, he could have kept going.
He had the hardest job because he was in Tampa, and Vasilevsky plays 62 games a year, and never comes out. So it's like, you're going to play once every 22 calendar days, and you're going to have to go in and give us a quality start. And he could do it. Like, that was crazy. He could do it.
It is.
That's hard, man. Imagine not playing a game for 3 weeks and then going out there in that situation. That's not easy.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. I mean, I could listen to you talk goalies all day, man. That's why I appreciate you coming on 2 weeks in a row. Talk about this. Who knows? Maybe we.
I think it might be a storyline throughout the season.
Yeah, so maybe we'll be talking a lot.
You didn't even bring up Kolosov. Like that's the thing.
I
now.
didn't. I
Bring up
didn't.
Kolosov.
I told you we are going to do 10, 15 minutes, and we're doing a half an hour. And I know you got to do another show. You want to talk Kolosov?
I mean, real quick.
Let's do it.
The thing is, like everyone said, we'll bring up Kolosov. Well, he's got less NHL experience than Ivan Fedotov, and he is also coming from the same league.
Yeah.
So the same things are there. How he handles it may be different. I mean, I think the big thing with him is he defaults low into the butterfly too quickly. And while he's got a great glove hand and he's got incredible reflexes, in the NHL, they'll beat you there. And we saw it in the preseason when he played a little bit, that he got beat high glove because he was defaulting too quickly off his edges. So there's a different kind of adjustment for him because he plays the position very differently, at a much different stature and mobility rate. So they're not, they're not apples to apples, but they're not apples to tennis rackets comparison either. So he's going to have to learn to deal with traffic in the NHL in a different way. I don't think a smaller guy, it's easier. It's probably a little harder to deal with the traffic because at certain points you can't look over. Even, you do want to have the ability to look over at times, just not when the shot's coming. But what I saw him dealing with traffic in the preseason, he looked around it, and if he gave up something on one side, and then he slid into the save, which is good. So he's an incredible, like a hovercraft on the ice, the way he moves. But I'm not ready to go 2 games into this season and say send Fedotov through waivers, which he would obviously clear, and bring up Kolosov. The guy's got to play, and people go, well, you can play in the AHL and figure this out. Yeah, to some degree. But I'm not ready to – I'm not going to be the dirt and shovel crew already. I teamed that crew last year. You lose a game, and it's like the dirt and shovel crew wants to come out, 4 games into a season and start – pouring dirt on the coffin. We're not there. It was a disappointing road trip, and does it mean that they're going to be or not going to be a playoff team or in the race? Maybe. It could be the difference because these games all matter, but there's a lot of hockey left. So how they kind of assimilate now that they're back on the East Coast and getting ready to kind of start their regular schedule. Only got 3 of 8 points. They need to be better, but we'll see where they go from here.
Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on for sure. I mean, that was, I think, was the biggest question mark heading into the season.
It was mine.
We talked last week. I'm an Erson guy, so I had the confidence and the faith, and he's kind of backing that up a little bit. I think he's looked very good. Biggest question mark, was the backup goalie position. Fedotov couldn't, even if he just, because I didn't think that he showed enough in the preseason to inspire any confidence, at least for me. And I know it's just preseason, so okay, take it with a grain of salt, even if he did look good. But it would have made me feel good heading into the season. And then, just the Calgary game we just went over, maybe, majority of the goals maybe necessarily weren't his fault. Last night, though, really was kind of demoralizing to watch.
When you give up the first one that's a cookie like that,
yeah,
that just sends the goalie on a path of uh-oh.
Well, you mentioned it with the blood in the water, man. You see that as the opposition, it's like,
oh yeah,
get
all
puck's
over.
goal, man. He can't see we can't see the puck.
Yeah.
So, Jace, great stuff. Where can everybody find you? And if you're doing a show after this, go ahead and promote that.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna. I tried to do it earlier, but I was having some computer issues with updating my operating system on my Mac, and it's like screwed everything up, and like passwords and it's been hell. But I'm going to break down a lot of the goals for and goals against in that Seattle game. There was one in particular I thought that was on him, that upon further review was not. But we'll break it down, kind of, what he needs to adjust, what the team needs to adjust in their structure and in the plays as well. So I'll be streaming that immediately following this.
Awesome. Make sure you guys watch that. Jace, there's nobody better to talk goalies with.
There is. You just can't get a hold of them.
You just can't get a hold of them. I want to thank you for being so available then, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Make sure you guys subscribe to our channel. Give us a like. It helps with the algorithm, gets us in front of more eyes and ears. So that means a lot. So for Jason, I'm Jim. We'll be back tomorrow night for the Flyers and Canucks. Jace, I'll see you up there tomorrow night, man.
Yep, I'll be there.
All right, have a good one, man. I'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
Later.